This is CBC Windsor. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer LaGrassa. Katarina is away. We begin with a fight to save a piece of Windsor history. A dedicated group has long wanted to revive an old outdoor stage that has a special meaning to the local Black community. What to do with the Jackson Park bandshell was on City Council's agenda. But as Dalton Chen reports, the discussion took an unexpected turn.
A debate on the future of the Jackson Park bandshell has been deferred because of a revelation. The public school board is putting part of the bandshell's land up for sale. Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens said the Windsor Stadium property is now listed by Ontario's Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing as land available for housing development proposals. That information wasn't on any city report before Monday's council meeting.
We're aware that the school board, through their process, has put the Windsor Stadium site up for sale, has indicated to the province, and they're asking for proponents to put forward submissions on how they might turn that property into a future housing development. We didn't get that information until mid last week. The report that was discussed today was actually, through our normal course of business, already published and made available to the public. And so,
the decision to defer came after multiple delegates and write-in submissions urged council to invest in protecting and rehabilitating the bandshell. The Jackson Park bandshell has a history that dates back generations. It was a key venue for Windsor's emancipation celebrations from the 1930s to the late 1960s. Stevie Wonder and Diana Ross are among the artists who have performed at the location. But the current bandshell structure hasn't been used since the 1990s and has been deteriorating for decades. Local Black activist Leslie McCurdy and Musicians Union representative Rick Labonte believe the city should invest in restoring the bandshell to its former glory.
The bandshell has so much potential in the future, has been spoken to, and that's the important part of what people are trying to say today. And it is uniquely situated.
I believe if it's just like in that film, if you build it, people will come and use it. And our local would utilize it. If you guys built it, we would help and create some events that'll utilize that space.
Ward 9 Councillor Kieran McKenzie was impressed by the delegates, but it was his motion that deferred the debate.
Some of the most powerful delegations I've seen from the community on any issue. There's an issue that we just have to deal with before we make this decision in terms of how we're going to move forward. It's as simple as that.
The issue is expected to return to council in the near future. The citizens who argued today on behalf of the bandshell say they'll return to advocate for it again. Dalton Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
It's been almost a year since a 14-year-old Windsor teen died from an asthma attack. Now, her mom is speaking out in the hope that it will save lives and raise awareness about how serious asthma is. Katarina Georgieva brings us this story.
At George Avenue Park in East Windsor, there's a memorial for Amber Marie McCollum. Nearly 1 year ago at this park, the 14-year-old had an asthma attack that claimed her life. Now, her mother, Kimberly Couvion, is sharing her story to help others.
Amber, she was a little fireball. She had so much energy. She loved dancing and singing. She was just an awesome person. She had so much potential to do so much good, and she wanted to do good. She wanted to help people.
It was June of last year that her worst nightmare played out.
That day, she was out with her friends. She left that morning. We were really big on I love you, so I was, I love you, Mom. I'm going out with Izzy. And I'm like, okay, well, check in with me later on in the day. And around 7:30 that night, I got a call from EMS.
Amber had had her inhaler with her, but it didn't help. And by the time paramedics arrived, she'd gone into cardiac arrest, and the lack of oxygen caused irreparable harm to her brain. She later died in hospital. Amber donated her organs, saving 4 lives.
She would have wanted that. Yeah. That was her thing. She always wanted to help people. Yeah. It makes me feel good because there's people out there that are living and they're not feeling what I'm feeling.
Now, however painful, Couvion is speaking out to help others.
People don't understand how severe asthma can really be. People don't realize it could be deadly.
Around the time of her death, Amber was in the middle of changing her medications. She was dealing with allergies, and she had been vaping.
I knew she was vaping, and you know, at 14, we were invincible, right?
Couvion tried to stop it, but with no luck. According to Jeffrey Beach, the president for Asthma Canada, 300 Canadians die of asthma every year.
What people don't appreciate, though, is the severity of the disease and how quickly things can change for people living with asthma, and the need to really make sure that it is well controlled.
Asthma Canada's website has a number of tools on how to assess and control your asthma. Beach encourages everyone with a diagnosis to speak with their doctor. The organization also offers free access to a certified respiratory educator. Now, whenever Couvion wants to feel close to her daughter, she comes here to the park. The family plans on holding a balloon release on the upcoming first anniversary of her death, like this one, held 1 month after she died.
I just miss her so much. Yeah. I really, really do.
The family is also raising funds to set up a permanent bench at the park in Amber's memory. The bench will have a QR code on it to link to Amber's story, along with information about asthma supports. Katerina Georgieva, CBC News, Windsor.
Chris Potter is here. Chris, a little breezy today, but the sun was shining.
Yeah, Jennifer, it's been a great stretch of weather with high pressure firmly in place. Unfortunately, that will come to an end tonight and into the day tomorrow. We have frequent waves of rain and weather moving in, and it all starts just before midnight this evening. Temperatures did start off generally in the mid to upper single digits this morning. They did recover generally in the mid-20s, feeling just shy of 30. And the next system, which will be lifting in from the south, lots of moisture, lots of heavy rainfall potential, but not for the Windsor area. We get into showers through the overnight. Temperatures actually stall at around 15 for the overnight low, back up to 17 for the mid-morning and 21 for the afternoon. Looks worse on paper, Jennifer. It's not going to be a complete washout, but have the umbrella nonetheless because you will need it. We'll talk about more rain, maybe some thunderstorms coming up.
Thanks, Chris.
You got it.
You'll still be able to pay for parking with good old-fashioned coins. Today, Windsor City Councilors rejected a proposal that would see the city only allow payment for parking through an app. City staff had recommended the move to modernize the system, but cash still makes up almost half of parking payments last year. Councillor Fred Francis didn't think the city was ready, and downtown Councillor Ronaldo Agostino said Windsor doesn't have to take this leap. He asked that the city leave things as is, but also add the option to double the maximum parking time to 4 hours if you use the app. That motion was supported by council. A BC man is sharing his story to serve as a warning to anyone looking to buy a used vehicle. He unknowingly purchased a car with misleading mileage. Erica Johnson with our Go Public team looks into the deceptive practice of odometer fraud.
So this is the car.
Yeah.
Steve Andrews needed a car for his growing family, landed on this 2012 Subaru. A good price, and the mileage was right, about 98K.
They said it was in very good condition, that there was no real problems or issues with it.
But as soon as the car left this dealership, it started to shake. Andrews brought it to a mechanic who helped him locate a record showing that back in 2020, the mileage was already thousands higher than advertised. But it gets worse. Go Public tracked down the previous owner who sold that Subaru just a few months ago.
What was the mileage on the vehicle when you sold it?
She told us the odometer was at about 150,000. So who rolled it back? More than 50,000 clicks.
Yeah, I was definitely angry.
Looks like a classic case of odometer fraud, which no one tracks in Canada. But recent tariffs on new vehicles are expected to drive up demand for used ones. And it's not that hard to find out how to fiddle with an odometer. This expert shows how even modern digital odometers can be tweaked using a handheld programmer widely sold online.
It is a click of a button and entering in a number. You don't have to have any know-how. You just need to know how to select a vehicle on a screen.
In seconds, he takes years off the vehicle. Andrews bought the car from this dealership, which told us the mileage was low when they agreed to sell it on consignment from this dealership, which also said the mileage was low when they bought it from the private seller. Claimed they'd done a full investigation, but wouldn't say what they found. This car expert says the buck stops at the dealership selling the car.
Dealerships do have to go upstream and find the source of where this all began, who is responsible, because ultimately they will be held accountable.
Steve Andrews did get a refund and filed a complaint with BC's regulator for car dealerships. He also bought a used car for his family from a different dealership. He hopes his story warns others about a potentially costly, deceptive practice he was lucky to catch. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict, Pope Francis, and now newly elected Pope Leo. These are some of the recent popes, but history says that there's never been a woman in the role. Will there ever be?
So not in our lifetime.
It will not happen in my lifetime.
It might not be anytime soon, but Teresa Hanlon and Suzanne Defroy are holding on to hope. They are just some of the women working to change the Roman Catholic Church. They work with organizations that say women have been and can be ordained, meaning they can hold roles from deacons to bishops. But the Vatican doesn't recognize women in these positions.
It's immediate now for women to be excommunicated if they attempt, as they term it, ordinations. Huge for girls, especially, to see a woman who is a servant leader in prayer, blessing, baptizing, and for young boys to see that as well, I think is important. Just to know that Christ is in all people.
The Catholic Church sees these women as breaking canon law, which is a set of rules that govern the church. One of those rules states that only baptized males can be ordained. It was a rule that Pope John Paul II reaffirmed in 1994 and has been upheld ever since.
The rationale for that argument was that Jesus did not have amongst his disciples women. And as a result, they believed that that extended to the priesthood. Now, the other side to that coin was that Jesus did surround himself with many women, many of whom were sponsoring Jesus's mission.
Not only that, but Hanlon says if you look carefully at history, it suggests that there were ordained women. She says it comes down to a fear of change.
Why do they cling to these false tenets? I really think it's because they're not ready. They're afraid. However, Christ is on it, is going, is moving.
The late Pope Francis was praised for promoting women to higher roles in the Vatican, but he still didn't allow women to become ordained. So while he made cracks in the glass ceiling, the women I spoke with hope Pope Leo finally shatters it.
I believe there's going to be a seismic shift with his leadership. Pope Francis planted the seeds, and I think that this Pope Leo XIV, is going to open the doors wide open.
Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor. Amherstburg is looking to revive an old tradition. Council will decide whether it wants to bring back a town crier. The role was filled until 2019 when the former town crier left. Since then, Norm Ross has done the job every once in a while, but he now hopes to officially get the title.
Oyez! 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 I would like to bring attention to the tours in the King's Own Navy Yard Park.
Hi, my name is Norm Ross, and I'm the town crier for the town of Amherstburg. Well, it sort of evolved from the fact that I was a docent with the Navy Yard tours last year, and I found that I just really wasn't getting very many people coming out for the tour. They weren't aware of them. So what I did is I went out into the middle of the street, rang the bell, and next thing you know, I had maybe a dozen people on our tours. And they happened every Saturday and Sunday throughout the summer, as they will this summer. There were town criers, and most recently, Frank Gorham, who retired in 2019, was an internationally renowned town crier, and I'm just hoping that I can maybe follow in those footsteps a little bit.
Okay, and have you talked to him, and what kind of advice did you get?
Well, he told me first, I thought I went, hear ye, but he tells me, oh no, it's oh yay. And he's let me know that you're not supposed to yell, but just speak very strongly.
On May the 31st at 2 p.m., we invite all people from Amherstburg to join
It brings
us.
attention to all of the things, not just historical, but also cultural and opportunities for fun that we have in Amherstburg. I mean, we have a great town here, a really awesome town. And really, just like the people on the tour, they had to learn about it by being told. And I get the chance to be able to tell that story today.
save the king!
A look outside there. A very lovely day. Stay with us. We'll be back with more news. An OPP officer is on trial for killing an Indigenous man. CBC's Pratush Dayal was in the Chatham-Kent courtroom and has more details.
OPP Constable Sean O'Rourke is facing a count of manslaughter for shooting Indigenous man Nicholas Greaves. It all goes back to the events of July 2021, and here's what we know of what occurred. Greaves was at a gas station and a companion of his filled the car with $40 worth of gas. They left without paying and the police were called. It was O'Rourke and his partner who responded. They pursued Greaves' vehicle down on the 401 and a firearm was discharged, and it shot Greaves and he later died in the hospital. The courtroom also heard today from Greaves' fiancée, and she told the court that Greaves and her used to dabble in fentanyl and crystal meth and were couch surfing in Windsor. She recounted many details of that day and broke down on the stand. She said how O'Rourke hit the car and they spun out of control, and last what she saw was Greaves being unresponsive. The court resumes Tuesday morning. Pratush Dayal, CBC News, Chatham.
The complainant is facing a second week of cross-examination in the sex assault trial of former World Junior hockey players. All 5 accused have pleaded not guilty. The woman, known only as EM due to a publication ban, again faced questions about the alleged incident in 2018. Ali Chiasson reports.
Today, EM was asked whether she recalls initiating sex in the hotel room with the hockey players. Alex Formanton's lawyer suggested she was, quote, egging them on to have sex with her. EM testified she doesn't recall doing that. She also testified that while her memory is fuzzy about the chronology of what sex acts happened when, she says she does remember the intercourse and with whom she allegedly had it with. One was with Michael McLeod consensually at the beginning of the night, and the other was allegedly with Alex Formanton. Today, his lawyer, Dan Brown, asked whether she remembers leading him to the bathroom. EM testified she remembers him following her to the bathroom where they allegedly had sex. Lisa Carnelos for Dylan Dubé picked up where Brown left off, suggesting to EM that she was, quote, taunting and threatening the men that she would leave if they didn't have sex with her. EM says that's not true. Instead, she testified that she was frustrated and upset when she allegedly wasn't allowed to leave. Carnelos also showed text messages EM sent to her best friend after she says she called her crying at 5 a.m. The friend asks, quote, "Hey girl, are you okay? Did you want to talk about anything?" Or EM responds, "Hey, yeah, sorry, I'm okay, girl. I think I was just being overdramatic earlier, but I'm good." EM was testifying that she was downplaying at this point, saying she was still processing and didn't want to think about it. Cross-examination continues tomorrow. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Opening statements have started in the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The music mogul faces several charges, including sex trafficking. He has denied all the charges. Chris Reyes has more, but first a warning to viewers. Details in this story are disturbing.
Long lines and a massive media presence. That is the scene outside of the courthouse here in Lower Manhattan for the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. We saw his mother and his adult children go in this morning. The jury has been seated and both sides have concluded their opening statements, painting 2 very different versions of the music executive. According to the prosecution, Mr. Combs used his powerful empire to commit crimes, including sexual abuse and exploitation of women for years, kidnapping and arson. And all of it happened within the context of so-called freak-offs, sex parties fueled by drugs and male escorts that sometimes lasted for days. That he did this with the help of a loyal inner circle who did his bidding. According to the defense, Mr. Combs was engaged in highly charged but consensual relationships with women that had domestic violence, yes, but not sex trafficking or racketeering or any of the crimes he's been accused of. The first witness to take the stand was a security guard at the hotel where a 2016 altercation happened between Mr. Combs and his ex-girlfriend, model and musician Cassie Ventura. This video was leaked to media last year and clearly shows Mr. Combs brutally beating her. That video was also played for the jury. Ventura is a key witness in this case. The prosecution also promised to show videos of those so-called freak-offs filmed by the defendant. This trial is expected to last 8 weeks. Mr. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges. If convicted, he could face up to life in prison. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Chris Potter is back with us. Chris, I stepped out for a walk on the riverfront today, and it was so busy. Everyone was just out enjoying the day. What do we got this week, though?
And don't you love to see that? You know, people getting out and enjoying Mother Nature, enjoying some free vitamin D. Just don't forget about the sunscreen. I actually burnt the top of my feet yesterday. Mother's Day, I took the kids to the park, left Mom alone, and then I looked down last evening and I went, oh, let's get some ice. So don't make that mistake. I don't think that you're going to be needing sunscreen as we step forward into the day tomorrow. I'm afraid things are going to change. Temperatures have already changed as well. Normal daytime high for this time of year is just shy of 20. 26.4 was the daytime high today. Overnight lows usually drop into the mid-single digits, and that's what's going to change, and it will be noticeable. Instead of dropping down into those values, they're likely going to be in the mid-teens for the most part, starting off tonight, continuing over the next couple of nights. Temperatures right now generally in the mid-20s. Outliers, obviously, Chatham-Kent, 21, 22 in Sarnia, and it is going to be noticeably cooler on the lake shores because obviously the lakes are much cooler than the air, so you will get that cooler, fresher lake breeze. Just something to consider if that's where you're going to be headed. For us, we have high pressure in place. That has dominated the weather forecast the past couple of days, leaving us with a nice run of sun. The next system lifting in from the south, first spreading cloud cover. That will continue to increase and thicken as we get through the second half of the evening. Might be a couple of rogue showers here and there, but it's really just around midnight that first wave of organized showers move in, lifts in from the south, kind of clears off towards the north and west. Then we get a bit of a break, a bit of a lull through the late morning. Another wave of organized showers moves in for the late afternoon and early evening. You might encounter a few rumbles of thunder as well, but at this point it looks like the bulk of the thunderstorm activity will reside well southwest of the Windsor area. For Tuesday evening and Tuesday night, we're still going to be some hit or miss showers from time to time. Wednesday will start off with lots of cloud cover, limited sunny breaks, but into the afternoon, lots of sunshine starts to develop, which is obviously going to dry things out, but it might actually destabilize the atmosphere as well, and you're going to be seeing that across lower Michigan. Pop-up thunderstorms are very likely. At this point, we'll keep the forecast dry for Wednesday, but that could obviously shift a little bit further to the east and bring it in closer to the Windsor area. For Wednesday evening and Wednesday night, we still have some showers. Showers are likely early Thursday morning, but by the afternoon, similar clear out, we're back into mostly sunshine. So it's unsettled, but it's far from a washout. It's conveniently timed rainfall for the most part. Temperatures tonight in the mid-teens. For the daytime hours tomorrow, not a huge recovery. We're basically stuck in the mid-teens to the low 20s, but that's where we're headed as well into the day on Wednesday. Highs around 23. Those overnight lows, as I suggested, in the mid-teens. 26 for your high on Thursday. Thursday night and into very early Friday morning, probably in the pre-dawn hours. Quick wave of rain and a few thunderstorms. Then we should dry out for the rest of the day on Friday. Showers for Saturday. Jen.
Not too terrible. Thanks, Chris. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great evening.